Joel Osteen appeared on Logan Paul's show. This is really, really interesting. So I want to give you a couple of thoughts about what I think about Joel Osteen. Let's check him out. Here it is. Here's the one. Pastor responds to haters that claim that he lives a rich lifestyle. Let's watch this.
Where are the Bentleys, the yachts, and the jets? Because this is a big place. I don't know if there's a garage somewhere or some sort of parking spot for the boats.
Would you be down to take me on a ride? In your Bentley after
Or
this?
the G650?
Yeah, that's right. In my
Funny.
fleet of cars. No, you know
Hilarious.
what? People like to make up stuff, but I don't think I've ever sat in a Ferrari, and they show me pictures of me driving Ferraris and fleets of cars, and
Cool.
Joel's got his yachts and jets and stuff, but I never respond to it.
Wait, so you have no yachts?
I have
Never
no
responds.
yachts. I have no jets. I have no
you
cars.
won't even have one jet.
I don't have one jet. I've never owned a jet. I've never owned a yacht or, a fleet of cars or.
So let's talk through it.
Okay.
The ministry here, the church has its value. It's obviously has a ton of people that come in and make donations, and there's donations digitally from the outside. You don't take a salary from the church.
I don't take a salary from the church.
Dude.
I've been blessed with book sales and media and other things, so I don't have to take a salary. So I can work here for basically no salary, and I haven't for most of the time, the 26 years here or so.
So for those of you who don't know Joel Osteen, this is Joel Osteen. He inherited the church actually from his father, John Osteen, who had a TV ministry at the time. So he wasn't extremely poor, but he did spend a lot of time growing the church himself. He has gone on to make a large income, not from the church finances mainly, but from selling a lot of his books and from selling, from a lot of those kind of book deals and things that he's managed to accumulate. Now, a lot of people take issue with Joel Osteen for his message, which is a message that is not about like the issue of like people are sinful and that they need God. He usually takes a positive approach. Now, I used to like Joel Osteen, but the thing that I don't like, the thing I hate is the lies. On the same podcast, Joel Osteen says this about all of his haters, everyone that hates him, right?
So I just try to, I like to live by that, I keep giving you all these analogies. I like to live by that eagle. I've taught about how, an eagle, a crow will try to pester an eagle, but the eagle never fights with the crow. The eagle just flies higher because a crow can't fly at the heights that the eagle flies at.
Dude.
And I love that thought of just, we are going to have some crows in our lives and some chickens, and people don't understand, but you're not supposed to be fighting those battles with crows and trying to just rise higher. I've learned.
You're not supposed to be fighting them chickens, bro. You gotta fly higher.
You see it in the scriptures, Joseph was good to his brothers when they had betrayed him and sold him into slavery. But 13 years later, he invited them to come live in Egypt and gave him, what? When you can be good to people that are not good to you, when you can rise above it, that's a strong character.
Yeah.
And I believe that's when God can trust you with more. Because it's easy, to use your power to push them down because may have more power, more influence. But I've just learned, be good to people. And when they don't understand me, I think, okay, maybe you're right and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but we don't have to be enemies or hateful with each other, but I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing and not let that get on the inside. Because the other thing too, and again, I come from the world of church and pastors. I've seen pastor friends, this is years back, but I'd see them up speaking. Maybe I hear their message on a YouTube or something, and I know them because they're friends of mine. I think, okay, you're speaking to the critics. You're mad. You're talking to your congregation. Everybody in your congregation loves you, but you're talking to the critics, and you're mad and you're defensive. You know what it does?
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, I mean, so like, Joel Osteen is an eagle. He doesn't worry about his critics, He crows and chickens. He doesn't worry about the crows and the chickens. He's not interested in those things, right? Okay, all right, that sounds good. So Joel Osteen, could you explain why you are suing Mike Winger? So first of all, why you are copyright striking Mike Winger if you really don't care? If you don't care, you don't care about the critics, what's going on there? Why didn't you tell me about that? He acts like they don't bother him at all. But this is what happened with Mike Winger, and yet Joel Osteen, and his ministry at least, took a massive offense to this kind of situation. What's going on here?
So here's a quick update just to catch people up. They may not really know about kind of the issues that have been happening around my channel and around this video I made. So on November 3rd, I made a video about Joel Osteen, evaluating his teachings. My goal was to kind of like explain his teaching methodology so that people could better understand what was happening with his teachings, not just to criticize. In fact, I was intending to champion whenever he made a good point and point out and explain the problems with whenever there was something
that sounds fair.
That was a problem. The video was called Analyzing a Typical Joel Osteen Sermon.
Right.
And within a few days of that video going up live,
I was there for that. If you saw that was pretty good, actually. That was pretty good.
Live in November, it was immediately copyright, claimed by Lakewood Church, and they claimed it, but only asked for the money. They asked for all the ad revenue that would come in through the video, and I didn't care. I thought that was funny, actually, and I don't really care.
Listen, you can talk nonsense, but just send the money our way. All right? How about this? We're not going to worry about you, right? You can keep crowing around and chickening around and stuff. That's fine, but like just send the money our way. You can do that. Just do that. We okay. We'll take it. But we won't really, we don't really bother with people or anything. We don't really care so much, but send the money.
That much. So that was fine. About 4 months later, though, the video had accrued about 700,000 views. It was doing really well, and lots of people were saying, thank you, this has really helped me to understand Joel Osteen's teaching. I always knew something was, a little off about it, but I don't hate the guy. I just needed discernment and wisdom on it. And all of a sudden, the video was taken offline. All of a sudden, their copyright claim, they didn't want the money anymore. Now they wanted it removed from the internet.
Hey, even an eagle needs to come down sometime to catch some fish, with some smaller animals. I guess that's what it must be.
And so that led to a few other things. Some more dominoes started falling.
So hold on a second. So it doesn't end there?
And I explained why I thought this was fair use, which is a legal term I'll explain very briefly in a minute. And
by the way, this is what fair use is, right? I'm reviewing Mike Winger's stuff. I'm reviewing Joel Osteen's, video on Logan Paul's channel. I'm reviewing it because I'm not playing the entire thing. I'm commenting on some of it. I'm cutting some of it out. We're talking about it. You're altering the content enough to say that this is commentary on this stuff, and it's not a full showing of the content. Just copy paste. That's what that would be.
They rejected my appeal, and so then I started reaching out individually, and I thought, I don't want to go through YouTube's like claims, back and forth features. I'd rather talk to somebody like Joel maybe, or someone else there at Lakewood Church who makes decisions like this. So I spent a really long time, and I mean like months, I think it was over a month, just trying to get in contact with somebody at Lakewood Church to discuss it with them. Everybody ignored me. I mean, I was finding people on LinkedIn who worked in this.
You know what they were doing? They were being eagles, and you were being a crow or a chicken. That's what was happening there. That's what was happening. Mike, you should have asked me. I would have told you that that's what was going on.
Just to send them messages. Everybody ignored me. I didn't get a single reply from a single person, not once. I even tried some back channels through people who know people kind of thing. And so at this point, I have good reason to think the following. Joel Osteen is personally aware of my video. It's not just some automated status that's happening. If it was an automated,
I think he even says that he watches YouTube on Logan Paul's thing. Seems to be pretty aware of all of the critics. He really does. Now, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut here because I'm going to share the links to these videos and you can go check out the full story. And I just want to say this real quick thing before I cut it out here. So, first of all, by the way, my name is Sean. I cover like all kinds of stuff that's going on in Christianity. That's to the best of my ability. I like to talk about anything that's big and new in Christianity and that's going on right now. I want to try to get this information out there as quickly as possible. So if you need to like and subscribe so that you can stay on top of all the news, everything that's happening, please do that. I would love to keep on doing this for you, and I would love to keep going. So, but to conclude here, my biggest issue is the fact that there are so many lies. Like, why are people lying? Why do you have to lie? I mean, if you know what, why doesn't he just say, you know what, certain things need to be dealt with, but generally you should ignore your critics and you shouldn't take it to heart, but sometimes people cross the line, and those are the times where you need to speak out for yourself. Like, even if he said that, Even if he said that, that he believes that there are some critics that go so far as that they harm people's lives, they dissuade people from coming to church, from attending, and from, learning the gospel and learning some of the good things that we teach at Lakewood Church and receiving the community support. Why didn't he say that? That, some of these videos cause those things to happen, and that's the reason why. Why didn't he do that? But he didn't do that, no. He tried to shut down Mike Wing, and then he ignored him all of a sudden. Now he's an eagle all of a sudden. Now, now he doesn't care. So yeah, you know what? That's my biggest problem here with with Joel Osteen. Like, even if you like him, even if you try to defend him, you can't, because of the blatant, clear lies. That's the biggest problem for me. I don't really care so much if pastors have a lot of money. I do take issue with the fact that pastors are spending their money on ridiculous things. Like, remember that last guy who spent like $50,000 on making his Mercedes-Benz into a limousine? I think that's a bit much, if you're gonna ask me. But yeah, in this situation, I gotta tell you, I think that the biggest problem here is the lies. He's saying that you really don't care about your critics, but you really do. You genuinely do care about your critics. So I mean, I would like to see this address, but if you know it by now, ain't nothing gonna happen. No ways. Anyway, like and subscribe. Thank you so much. See you on the next one.